Perfect. Thanks a lot, Palak. Thank you everyone for joining in. Hopefully, this session is very fruitful for you all. So, just quickly introducing myself, I am Harkirat and I'm the country officer, India for Goldsmiths University of London. And I'll just give a quick glimpse into the university. So, moving on to my first slide. So, this is a glimpse of our beautiful campus in mainland London. So, we are in zone 2. So, it's very well located. If you see the image in the center of your screen, you'll see that we are located in southeast, but still very well connected with everything that the city has to offer. And London is one of the most student-friendly cities in the world. You get a lot of opportunities, and there's a lot of perks that are associated of being there. And added advantage that you get with Goldsmiths is that you get the best of both worlds in terms of the opportunities that you have access to, but also we're one of the largest single-site campuses there. So when you see the right bottom, you see our beautiful campus. It's a huge space. All of our different departments are actually at one place. So you get a glimpse into different areas. And that also really encourages a multidisciplinary approach that we have as a university also. So combination courses or like majors and minors is not really a concept of the UK. But at Goldsmiths, you'll find those kind of options where different areas interact and intermingle. And there's a lot of growth and innovation that becomes possible through this approach. So we are known as a creative university, very, very innovative. We do have an educational legacy of more than 200 years, and we are a part of the University of London, and that's the degree that you get. So it's very prestigious and easily recognized throughout the world. Also, world-leading research is taking place at the university. We are ranked amongst the top in terms of quality of research and the output that we produce. We do have courses in various different niche subject areas, and the only intake that we have is a September intake. So we don't really have like a minor intake in terms of other months. 11 of our subject areas are actually top in the world as per the latest QS rankings. So that includes the likes of computer science and information systems. So that includes the very in-demand topics of data science, various elements within data science as well, be it econometrics or AI, or machine learning. Cybersecurity is very popular as well. A lot of different interesting options for you guys, including computer games as well, computational arts, and combination options if you want business and computing, if you want to do business on its own. We're actually one of the universities that produces the highest number of business founders, CEOs, and MDs in the UK as well. So very good to be studying with us in those areas. Other top areas include psychology, sociology, criminology, art and design again is very, very popular, along with anything creative that you can think of. So be it performing arts. So Kalki Kuchlin, I'm sure a lot of you must have heard of her. So she did study at Goldsmiths as well. Music is another popular area. So a lot of famous musicians you'll find who have actually studied at Goldsmiths, and we have courses in pop, in like generic music, electronic music, like all kinds of different options. Communication and media studies, we are top 2 in the UK and top 11 in the world. And again, very prestigious along with our English language and literature options. So recently, like this September intake, Twinkle Khanna graduated from the university studying MA in creative writing. So she's already a distinguished author and very prestigious. I mean, it's very prestigious to study, like even after you've achieved a lot. Other areas include education, anthropology, which is the study of human history, development studies as well. So London being so culturally rich, you really gain from your experience and you have a lot of opportunities in any kind of area that you venture into. We also do have courses in law, history, politics, and international relations as well. Also, we are one of the top 70 most international universities in the world. So you really gain from the diversity, the kind of exposure you get, different perspectives in the classroom as well, which really enhances your experience. So yeah, moving on to the next slide. So I'll just give you a glimpse into some of the top reasons for studying at Goldsmiths. So one is definitely our London location that brings along with itself a lot of opportunities, a lot of exposure that you guys get, a lot of diversity that I already mentioned, and you get a great student life. It is a very welcoming atmosphere for our students. The lecturers are very, very friendly, and the power distance dynamic is different from how it is in India. So they're very approachable. They'll help you out. They'll go out of their way, and you'll find it a very friendly environment. You'll be exposed to a lot of opportunities in that sense. We do have academic and excellence, and the interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary approach really facilitates that. So even if you are interested in other areas which are not in your course, you're more than welcome to go and attend those lectures, get the department's perspective, and that's something that Goldsmiths really encourages. We are research led, we have top ranked areas, and student success is definitely a great thing that we have as well. A lot of our academics here will also be industry professionals since we're located in the heart of London, so that is possible as well. And we do give a lot of career support during the course until 3 years afterwards. The London location in itself gives you a big boost when it comes to looking for opportunities, because a lot of these opportunities tend to be walking distance for you guys. We do have state of the art infrastructure and facilities. A lot of the courses will give you studio spaces and all the latest facilities. And we do offer scholarship, English language waivers as well. And there are no external examinations that you need. So yeah, 12th will be sufficient. So now I'll be passing it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Harkirat. Hello, everybody. A very good morning. This is Parul. I am the recruitment advisor for University of Nottingham. And sorry, Rohil couldn't be here today, so I'm just kind of speaking on his behalf. Basically, I've been with the university for close to about 2 years now. I've been with the education space for about 6 odd years, and I've been a proud alumna of a British university myself. So that's why I'm really, really joyous to speak about everything study abroad in the UK. And I'd really, really happy to kind of answer any questions that you might have. Speaking about University of Nottingham, so we are a top-ranked university, top 100 in the world. It gives me a lot of pride to kind of, talk about that accolade. And this is by QS World Rankings, which is the latest, 2024. We are top 100 in the world now. For some courses in the UK, we are ranked 7th, that is for research and power. In terms of employability, we're also very, very sought after. We are 70th in the world and 4th in UK. In terms of our Russell Group status, I'm sure it's needless to say, but we are also Sports University of the Year consecutively for some years now. And that's because we've got humongous campuses in the UK. At Nottingham, we've got 3 campuses, which could be as huge as 300 acres. So that really gives you an edge. We also have the David Ross Village set up on campus, which is the sports center. So I'm sure you guys know about the Bucks team, which is the British universities and colleges sports team. So they play on our campus. And we also have a lot of sports scholarships, if you might fancy them. So basically, they're available both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. Just in case if you have any representation, make sure you don't shy away from talking about it, because that can actually give you awards other than the scholarships that we have already. Also, in terms of employability, we are tied up with UniTemps. So that's a body that's responsible only for your part-time job search support. Other than that, we have the careers team altogether. So basically, my point being, we are going to be there at every beck and call of yours. Like Harkirat said, we as a cluster of British universities are very friendly in our approach of teaching. And yeah, I mean, of course, studying in the UK can be a little overwhelming, but it's a little different from, how we study in the UK. And we really can kind of, factor those considerations for you. Other than that, I think I'm going to talk about the university at length. But yeah, that's about me. I'd probably give it to my colleague now. Thank you.
Thanks, Parul. So, hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in today. My name is Savi Agarwal, and I'm the country advisor for Durham University. I've been with the university for almost 3.5 years now. And very quickly about the university. So, it is one of the founding members of the Russell Group of Universities. We are currently ranked 78th globally. So, we are also within the top 100 universities within the world. We are consistently within the top 10 in the UK, and we do have a triple crown accreditation in terms of a business school. So we've got all the 3 business accreditations. 83% of the research that goes out of the university is either world leading or internationally excellent. We are also in the top 50 when it comes to employer reputations. This is again as per the QS rankings. We have a central career cell that helps students in terms of how to apply for jobs, prepare CVs, approach employers. So altogether, there is a lot of support. We have an ongoing graduate, employability rate of 93%. So across the university, across all our courses, 93% students get placed within 6 months of graduating from the university. We have 17 colleges on campus for student accommodation. So we are one of the very few collegiate universities in the UK, apart from Oxford, Cambridge, York and Lancaster. But our collegiate system is quite unique. So with our collegiate system, you have a separate faculty building and you have separate accommodations. And each accommodation has its own, central system. They have their own music rooms, they have their own cafes, bars, libraries, gymnasiums. So not only do you have these facilities available at the university level, but then you also have these facilities available at the college level. We guarantee first-year accommodation to all students. And the idea is that the focus should not just be on your professional development, but it should also be on your personal development. We're also the only city. Durham is a very small city, but it's got a population of around 60,000 people, of which 20,000 are students. So it's a very student-friendly city. We are the only university in the world to have 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites on campus. And if any of you are Harry Potter or Avengers fans, you'll definitely recognize the campus once you're there. In terms of location, we are approximately 2.5 hours from London. We are much closer to Newcastle, which is just 10 minutes away, which is also where we have the closest international airport. It's a beautiful, compact, and very friendly city. It's a World Heritage city, and also the only university in the world where you can actually live in a 15th century castle. So that's about Durham. I'm going to pass it on to Palak now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So for those of you who joined late, I'm Palak. I'm the international officer for King's, and I've been with King's for about more than 3.5 years now. So I'll just quickly take about 2 minutes to give you some context about King's. Can you move the slide, please? Yeah. So we are about 200 years old. We are the founding college of the University of London. Very, very proudly, we've produced some exceptional alumni so far. So that includes 15 heads of states and 14 Nobel Prize winners, something that we take great pride in. We are also part of the Russell Group. So I'm sure you've heard this word so many times during the presentation. So for those of you who don't know, Russell Group is pretty much like a synonym for the Ivy League in the US. So they are a group of research-intensive universities. And the numbers that you see on the screen are some things that Indian students specifically I've seen get really excited about. So according to the latest Times Higher Education ranking, we are top 35 in the world. And according to the latest QS rankings, we are top 37 in the world. And we are, of course, top 10 in the UK and top 3 in the London. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So again, not spending much time on this today, just being mindful of time. But if you want to read more about the Nobel laureates, you can always read more about them on the website. So these are some of the names on the screen. Right. I'll just spend like next 30 minutes on our location slide on the that you see on the screen. So we are in the heart of central London. King's has 5 campuses in the heart of central London, and we are a big university with close to about 35 to 40,000 students across all 5 campuses across UG and PG. All the red boxes that you see on the screen spread across central London are either hospitals, libraries, campuses that are owned and managed by King's. And all the purple boxes that you see on the screen are all, all the famous touristy things and famous landmarks of London. So that could be the London Eye, the Shard, etc. So we're pretty much surrounded by the very best that London has to offer. And these might look very spread out on the screen, but they're all within walking distance and short bus rides from each other. So yeah, King's is not just, I think, in my opinion, one of the most centrally located universities in UK, but I think pretty much in the whole wide world as well. And London has been rated the #1 student city in the world consecutively, I think 5 to 6 times in the world now. So yeah, that's about our location, and we can move ahead now. I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Palak. Hello, everyone. My name is Akshi. I am the India officer supporting the University of Manchester in their India operations. I'll talk a little bit about where we are based. We are in Manchester. As you can see the map, we are in the north of the country, quite close to Liverpool and Birmingham. We are around 2 hours away from London by a train. We have an international airport right next to the city centre as well. And Manchester is also called the capital of North. So it's quite a big city. It's a very student-friendly city. We have 3 major universities within Manchester, including the University of Manchester. So every year, thousands of international students are welcomed by the city. So be it the city center, be it the university campus, or even if you're living slightly outside of the city, you will always have student-filled areas where you can find accommodation and other fun activities happening throughout the city. So if we go on to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about our university. So University of Manchester, as you can see on our logo, was established in 1824. So 2024 is going to be our bicentenary year. So we will be completing 200 years of existence. It is one of the original Russell Group universities. We are ranked consistently in top 50 in the world as per QS rankings. In 2012 to 13, 1 billion pounds were invested in the campus. So we have quite a new campus with some of our old Victorian buildings still in place. So if you are an arts or a creative arts student, you would still be studying one of the old buildings which have all the resources for creative arts and all the industrial revolution that happened in the city. We still have the classics of our Nobel laureates where they practiced and did their physics experiments, etc. All of those things are still available and saved properly for students to go and see in the Manchester Museum. As a city, we have a rich culture and history, and sports is quite big as well. So if you are a football fan, you would love to be here. Two major football clubs here at Manchester. So if I go on to the next slide, this is a little bit about the university. So last year we were 28th in the world. We have 25% plus of our students as international, and Indian students are consistently becoming the second most number of international students within our campus. We have a 94 to 97% of graduate employability rate. So what that means is that 94 to 97% of our students are either placed into a job or go into research activities within 6 months of their graduation. As I mentioned, we are one of the oldest Russell Group institutions. So the type of quality of education, the research, if you're into those type of subjects, we offer a lot of subject areas within our humanities, within business schools and engineering. So we have all courses and combinations available that you might be interested in within these faculties. And I'll be happy to share, take more questions later on in the slide. Thank you.
So I'll be moving on now and be talking about UK as a destination. I'm sure you all are very keen to know about it. And it does have a lot to offer in terms of being culturally rich. And there's so many perks which I'll be covering through the slides. But just to give you a glimpse on it, this is the map of the UK. And you can see it consists of England, the capital of which is London, Wales, the capital of which is Cardiff, Scotland, and then Northern Ireland as well. So moving on, I'll give you guys a glimpse onto so these are some of the top reasons and why international students do select UK as a destination. I'll be covering more on it through the slides that I'll be presenting. So moving on. So we do have a long history of welcoming international students. The UK has a very rich heritage, and through centuries, we've been welcoming people from across the globe. This welcoming attitude, along with the diverse range of courses, the inclusive atmosphere, makes UK a great destination for international students. Moving on. The duration. So you save time as well as money. So UK courses are typically shorter duration as compared to other places. So bachelor's will be completed in 3 years, most of them. And most of the master's programs will be completed in 1 year. So you do save in terms of living expenses, you save in terms of your time as well. And yeah, moving on to the next slide. We have a globally recognized education systems, and there is a high quality of excellence. There's academic excellence and really high standards that we maintain as well. So some of the top rated UK universities in the entire world are actually located there. For example, Oxford and Cambridge, some of the oldest institutions, as King's mentioned as well. A lot of prestige and heritage. Moving on. We are research led, like most of the universities that you will see, including like particularly the Russell Group. There's a lot of research that takes place on the campus as well. As I mentioned, Goldsmiths is also very, very research focused. So what you gain is a lot of exposure, a lot of knowledge through the research that is happening. So your academics will be actually leading people from the industry who actually feed in a lot into the programs that you'll be studying. So the experience is a lot more enriching. Moving on. You do get a lot of health benefits, which includes access to NHS or the National Health Service. So this provides with free or low-cost medical care, including doctors' appointments, hospital treatments, and emergency services. These are comprehensive healthcare. So, I mean, you don't need to worry about any additional expenses in most cases. You do get peace of mind since in terms of health, you're well protected through the system. There is preventative healthcare as well, in terms of like even doing checkups and all of that. Mental health is also something that UK takes really seriously, and you get a lot of support from the UK, from the various organizations as well as the universities you'll be studying in. And in summary, benefits benefit a lot from the international healthcare system that ensures well being throughout their studies. And yeah, I'll just move on to the next slide as well. There are a wide range of course offerings that we have, and in various different disciplines as well. So around 36,000 undergraduate courses at more than 395 providers. So you're not limited by choice for sure. Courses in all kind of areas, being it the more traditional subjects which have been popular in the past, or being it the more contemporary, newer subjects into the various niches like art and design, data science, and so on. We'll give offerings in almost anything and everything that you want to do. And this diversity ensures plenty of options for our international students. Moving on. Global employability opportunities are definitely there since the universities and institutes are globally and easily recognized throughout the world. It opens you to the global marketplace. UK in itself has a lot of opportunities as well, and the degree that you will hold will definitely have a lot of value and will increase and enhance your employability a lot. Moving on to the next slide. A lot of the courses that you'll be studying at UK will also give you industrial placements and career opportunities, and these tend to be invaluable in terms of experience that are added. International students are coming from different places, so having that exposure in the local market definitely helps. So these take the forms of internships, co-op opportunities, study abroad programs, international placements, and so on. Many of the UK universities offer industrial placements and internships as well, and you get an opportunity to gain a lot of hands-on experience. Moving on to the next slide. It is a very multicultural and creative environment. I mean, it is one of the most diverse places to be studying in. London as a city is one of the most international in the world. So you gain a lot from your experience studying in a classroom with different perspectives, different people from across the globe working on those projects. And now with the world, a global workplace, and you finding opportunities in multicultural companies as well. So you gain a lot from that. And that is something that employers particularly do look on. There is a flexible work permit now, and the GIR is definitely a game changer. So that allows students, international students, to stay in the UK for up to 2 years after graduation, and even 3 years in terms of PhD courses. This offers ample of time for you to be looking for opportunities and gain valuable work experience. And this flexible visa option enhances international students' career prospects and provides a smooth transition from education to the workforce in the UK, if that's what you're looking for. Obviously, the option to come back also remains to you, but you have that option to stay back and explore options if you want to. Moving on. The UK is also a typically safe destination. It is one of the most student safe places to be at. Multicultural environment definitely enhances that. You are feeling very inclusive in that mix that you are studying amongst. There is a good medical care that also increases that peace of mind and makes you feel more safe. There is a relatively low crime rate as well as good legal systems and the police presence. There's high priority in protecting personal safety too, and immediate and sensitive handling of incidents in case something happens. There's always a lot of support that is available to everyone and our international students as well. So moving on, and I'll pass it over now. Thank you.
I'd be speaking a little about the course requirements, the entry requirements, and how students can actually navigate their way in terms of, the flexibility in entry requirements for the courses in the UK. Primarily, I think I would really want to say that aspirants coming to the UK really are exposed to a wide variety of institutes to choose from, courses to select. And the best thing is that students can actually tailor-make their course, because in the UK, you can actually select the modules that you want to study, which is, again, unlike a concept in as compared to here in India. In terms of entry requirements, I want to really say that we are relatively flexible. So we do look at merit. I think that's a no-brainer. So again, if you look at the undergraduate entry requirements for students to come to our courses, I think 80% and above, so a bandwidth of, let's say, some institutes might go up till an 85 or a 90. However, an 80% and above is a good, I would say, scale to actually come to our university. And again, I would say, retrospect, we actually accept all boards. So, I mean, it's kind of, completely up to the students, background. As long as they meet the threshold of the merit, I think they are good to come. For the PG, I think a 60-65% and above. However, for a Manchester, it might just go up a little. But kind of, that's the bandwidth that we are looking at. But like I said, that's basically a non-negotiable. Student with a good merit is what we look at. Other than that, I think there are only some competitive exams that students might have to write. So for a law program, an LNAT is just required by Durham and King's. Other than that, I think we're quite flexible. This is basically an entrance exam that students have to write if they want to come to our undergraduate courses. UCAT being the primary entrance exam for medicine, I think that kind of is required by all. It's just that kind of, there'll be an interview that students might have to face after this. So I think this is just one catch for the medicine program. Also for us, we also look at an MBA interview. If the student is selected, there'll be an interview that the students will have to take. But like I said, it's only for some courses. And again, not for all courses do we ask for, a work experience or an interview, or I would say, any other competitive exam other than these. In terms of USPs, I think the universities have talked about at length, but I'm just going to quickly cover. So like I initially mentioned, we are really, really sought after a sports university. We have a David Ross Village, which is a £40 million establishment on campus just for sports. So those of you who are sports fanatics, really, really welcome. And like I said, please try to leverage on our sports scholarships. We also have scholarships which could be as generous as 100% or 50%, but then they have to be applied, and the counselors can actually navigate how to go through it. We also have humongous campuses. Like I said, in Nottingham, we've got 3 campuses, and we've also got campus in China and Malaysia. And about Durham, like us, we are also kind of, the top 100 university in the world, top 10 in the UK. And most of us have triple accredited business schools. And, we have other accreditations as well. We also are TEF Gold, as a cluster, if I may say. For King's, again, really, really highly ranked, as kind of, my colleague already mentioned. They've got really some notable alumni who've passed out from the school and are doing really an inspiration to the fellow students. For Manchester, again, 32nd in the world, 6th in the UK, and, having most of the accreditations that they can. For Goldsmiths, I think Harkirat has really taken us kind of vividly through the university. But again, primarily having the London advantage, I think really, really gets, all the fancy. And most of their subject areas are also widely, sought after. Could we please move on? Yeah, thank you. In terms of courses, and the beauty about studying in the UK, I think this has already been mentioned, but I really want to emphasize on this again. The timeline of our courses is really short, and I think that really kind of makes us a big hit. So for an undergraduate program, a student is only looking at a 3 years investment, or if they can actually extend it up to 4 years with an industrial placement involved. So really kind of students are kind of looking at an employment driven avenue and being kind of employment ready as well. Similarly, for the master's program, whether or not it's research or a master's by science, I think it's only timed for 1 year, which is a good enough time for a student to actually learn the skills and be industry ready again. So in terms of, I think has already been mentioned, there's a course out there for everybody. It's just basically on the student's appetite, what they really want to study, suit their interest, and actually tailor fit their course. So right from the popular subjects like a computer science, law, data science, we also have the popular business school programs of management, and liberal arts, psychology, School of Humanities. I think everything under the sky we provide in terms of the course selection. Again, the courses could be as niche as a fashion marketing, or it could be kind of as popular as a business analytics. So I think it completely boils down to the student's interest, and it's only fair that the student really navigates the course well, because again, studying in the UK is a little different. Again, I'm saying this with my own personal experience. It can be a little overwhelming because this is not the regular style of teaching that we do in India. There's a lot of self-study involved. There's a lot of group activity. A lot of practical experience is what students actually kind of gain out of learning from the course. Could we move ahead, please? Thank you. Yeah. In terms of factors to be considered, I think there are many, but I would want to highlight some. So primarily, I think it's fair that students really look at the course content in terms of what subjects they're going to be studying. Be it at any year, the student actually gets the option to select the course modules, and at the end of the semester they can actually choose the elective modules and actually customize their course basically in terms of their interest. So I think this is really important, that the students are doubly, triply sure and they know what they are really going to study, because this really would help them a long way. In terms of rankings, again, it's needless to say, we all are a big, cluster here who are really, really highly ranked. However, whilst choosing your university or your course, it's important that the students look at, let's say, the subject-specific rankings or the employability rankings, or, let's say, what the alumni are doing out of their courses. So this really helps you to do the reverse engineering and actually navigate your own way. And I think this is also one of the factors that students can consider. In terms of facilities, again, sports is one of the primary factors for students who are into athletics. However, with respect to clubs and societies, like for us, I can speak, we are a 350 and above, societies and clubs that we have at, on campus. And just in case if you want to open your own, you definitely can. So there's all the flexibility that you want there. And of state-of-the-art facilities that we as universities provide. And I think students can actually make use of all of them if they really, are into the drill and they go through the orientation. We actually kind of take them through. In terms of fees, scholarship, again, this is very important. It has to be kind of, your pocket-friendly avenue when you're looking at a UK education. However, I think, most of our courses are relatively, I would say, priced. And I think if you really kind of start early enough and look through, you can actually get scholarships. Like I mentioned earlier, we provide a very generous scholarship, which is for 100%. And again, a lot of funding is received from the government, for us as universities, which you as Asian kids can actually, get it for yourself. Because again, it looks kind of at your merit, which, like I said, is a non-negotiable. And secondly, we also look at your holistic flamboyance, or kind of, any work that you've done in your domain and you validated what you've done. I think as long as you do justice to that, you really can kind of, make sure that you get some scholarship on your sleeve. Other than that, accommodation could also be one of the factors. So most of us here have like huge campuses, and we also have on-campus accommodation. However, if students want to really kind of live off with their friends outside of campus, that's also an option. And again, there are many, I would say, varieties for you to choose in terms of how and where you want to stay. So again, this is also one of the factors that you should consider, because again, depending on which county or city that you come in the UK you really can, influence your finances that way. In terms of location and city life, this was a factor for me, and that's why I chose London. So basically, I would say location is really, really important, because please be mindful, students, it's really, really not just an academic journey that you're embarking on. It's more of a holistic, growing, because let's say there is kind of, an assignment in terms of a presentation that you kind of being marked on, which is for, let's say, 10 or 20 credits. And there's a presentation that you really have to do with a bunch of kids that you don't know. So basically, I would say living that entire process, you actually don't realize, but you're working on your networking skills, your interpersonal skills, and stuff like that. So I think that really, really kind of matters when you go to a university which is quite centrally located, because it then becomes a melting point of so many, diversity and so many diverse students to actually come and study with you. So I think location is primarily, one of the big factors. City life as well. Most of the students here would look at a good, I would say, student friendly approach of studying, and most of the universities here are, like I said, at the UK hotspot, and most of us are student friendly cities. Safety, I think, already has been covered, but I would say these are just some factors that you should bear in mind before really coming to the UK, because like I said, the process could be a little, you might just be a little culturally shocked in terms of being so overwhelmed, since you're exposed to so many things around. But again, in the long run, it's a very beneficial journey. Thank you.
So now I'm going to talk about the UCAS application process. So now that we understand how the entry requirements work and what are the entry requirements that we need for different universities, we also need to understand how can we go ahead and put in our applications. So UCAS basically stands for Universities and Colleges Admission Services, and it is the application portal for UK universities. Now, the idea is to try and simplify the application process for students. And I think UK does a brilliant job at it, wherein you can apply to multiple universities in one go with the standard documents that go to all universities. So it saves you the time and, it saves you the headache of trying to, figure out different documents to apply to different universities and then sending out these different applications. So the idea is, on the website, you're able to apply to 5 UK universities in one go. You can research about different courses, about different universities, what they have to offer. All that information is consolidated and is available once you apply through UCAS. You can also see the different entry requirements that we just spoke about. You can make and you can track your application through UCAS. Now, UCAS also gives you an opportunity to be able to put down your personal statement, reference letters. You have to upload your 10th mark sheet. You have to upload your 12th predicted grades in order for universities to have an overview of your academic background and of you as an individual. Now, IELTS is something that's not mandatory for all universities. A lot of universities are happy to give an IELTS or English language waiver. So particularly if I talk about Durham, at Durham, if a student has above 80% in their 12th English, we are happy to give them an English language waiver. But then again, it might depend from university to university, and it's always ideal to check with individual universities with regards to the English language proficiency requirements. Now, of course, as mentioned previously, some universities also have additional requirements for specific courses, like LNAT, which is the Law National Aptitude Test, is required for LLB programs for certain universities. UCAT might be required for medicine-related courses. So you also have to upload these scores through the UCAS website. Now, on the UCAS website, once you start the application process, there are at least 6 different sections that you have to go through and you have to complete. So the first section is about your personal details. So you have to talk about, all your personal details, your date of birth, etc. Then, of course, you put in you put in your choices. So, like I said, you can apply to 5 universities in one go. The ideal way in terms of how you pick your universities is that the first 2 universities are your, top universities, the ones that you're really aiming for, that might have the highest entry requirements. Then, the other 2 could be with slightly lower entry requirements that are like your slighter, backup options. And then another university with a further lower entry requirement just to safeguard yourself as like a safety net option. Now, then the third segment that you have to fill in is regarding your education. So like we discussed, it's your 10th class mark sheet, your 12th predicted grades. If, IELTS, TOEFL, PTE is required, then those documents you have to upload. When we mentioned the 4th segment, which is employment, so the idea behind that is that if you've done any kind of, internships, you've done any kind of part-time jobs, so we would definitely love to know more about that. So that is something also that you can fill in that space. Personal statement. So we're going to cover more about the personal statement in the upcoming segment after the UCAS application. But then a personal statement, again, is really important. It could be a make or break for your application. And then the 6th segment, which is the last segment, is regarding your references. So, of course, an academic reference is really important. It gives us an insight in terms of, how your teachers and, people that you studied under Also think about you as an individual, think about your attitude, your aptitude towards the particular subject. Now, once you've completed all these 6 sections, you go ahead and you launch your application, and then your application is received by all the different universities. Once the universities receive the application, they will respond back to your application or update their statuses in 3 different ways. So one is initially because you've given only your predicted grade. So if you meet the minimum entry requirements of the university, we will then issue you a conditional offer. Post that, once you successfully meet all the conditions, we will then update your offer to an unconditional offer status. And third would be an unsuccessful decision. In case if you do not meet the entry requirements of the particular university, then they would go ahead and decline your application. Now, as I'd mentioned initially, so UCAS does give you an option to be able to track your application on their portal. This gives, this makes it much easier for you because you have a 24/7 access to your application at all times. You can see at what stage is your application. If a decision is made by any particular university, it shows you all your different choices. And it also gives you an option to be able to, use the system in case eventually you want to go into extras, you want to apply for clearing or adjustment. Now, once your application, like I mentioned, has come through and you've got the decisions from universities, there are 3 different options that you can choose then. So the first is you can go ahead and form your choice. The form choice would be basically with the university where you've met all the conditions and this university is technically your first choice. This is where you really aim to be at and you really want to go ahead and accept the offer. So that's the university that you would go ahead and form with. Now, insurance choice would be somebody, the other university where the entry requirements were slightly lower. They have accepted you, and this is technically your backup option, just in case if, you haven't yet heard back from the university, which is your main priority. So you can go ahead and choose an insurance choice as well. And the third is you can go ahead and decline all the other offers, sorry. Once you do go ahead and form a university and put an insurance choice, you have to go ahead and decline all the other offers. And just in case, if all the universities come back and sadly, you haven't been accepted anywhere, then you do have an option to go ahead and do, apply for other universities through UCAS Extra or Clearing and see if there are any other, available places with other universities. Now, this is a general timeline of the UCAS application system. So the applications for 2024 ideally would start a year in advance. So, of course, the process has already started. The UCAS registrations opened on the 16th of May. The application submissions have started on the 5th of September. Now, the application deadlines are usually, towards the last week of Jan. So the deadline date for 2024 intake is 31st of January. So you've got to make sure that you put in a timely application. This is the equal consideration deadline. So all students who apply anytime before this deadline would all be considered at the same level. Now, post that, 28th Feb is the UCAS Extra open date. Then March is usually around the time, March, April is when usually universities would start giving out their decisions and you'll have a better idea as to which universities have accepted you and not. Then 30th June is the application deadline, and this is the time by which you have to make your firm and insurance choices. Now, August is the deadline to meet with different conditions, so you have to submit your final scores. This is the final deadline for you to be able to join for 2024 intake, and the adjustments also open around this time. Now, October is usually where you have the clearing deadline. And if everything goes well, then of course, you land up at the university of your choice. Now, this year, there have been a few changes with respect to the, UCAS application system. So the first change is regarding the academic references. The idea is to make it more sustainable, to make it more precise, and to make it much more easier for, universities to go through, because we get a variety of different SOPs, and sometimes it's very difficult to pick out the key information. So this time, the key focus would be that you'll have 3 different sections that you have to, structured sections that you have to talk about. So the first is going to be a general statement about your school, about your college, and you have to talk about that very briefly. Then also, in case if it's applicable to you, you also have to provide information regarding any excruciating circumstances or, anything that's really impacted your overall life, it's impacted your education, or any, achievement that you had that is, worthy, that you think is really important for you to put down in your reference, so you should talk about that, you should refer back to your referee and tell them to put that down in your, academic reference letter. And the third would be that, you've also got to provide any supportive information with respect to, the university that you're, the course that you're applying for to the different university or college, that you think might be something that's more important, for the university to be aware of. Now, the idea is that it's going to give clarity to the referee. The referee has more time and resource for each student. And the universities and colleges can also find important information, like I mentioned. The second change is with respect to the application fee. So previously you had the option to apply to a single university, which was somewhere around £20 that you paid for a single university, and somewhere around £26.5 that you had to pay for 5 universities. So now UCAS has gone ahead and they have made it a simplified version wherein you only have one application fee, which is £27.50. The idea is that you can go ahead and apply to 5 universities. When you are spending that kind of money, makes sense to apply for 5 universities in one go. Through this application fee, of course, you then do not have to pay anything additional for UCAS Extra, Clearing, or Clearing Plus also. The third change is regarding gender inclusivity, sorry. So now instead of just having, a man or a woman, you also have, I use another term or prefer not to say, as options that are available on UCAS. And the fourth and the last option is that you also now have the access to Grade Tool. So now Grade Tool is a brilliant resource for students to have, which talks about, the last 5 years entry requirements that students had for the university that they applied to. So that gives you an idea that, say, for example, if my university accepts 80%, but maybe one year I've also taken students at 79% also. So you know that if you are at 79, then you might be able to apply. So, it gives you, it helps you make a much more informed decision whether, you will be able to qualify for that particular university or not. And it helps you narrow down your options. And it also encourages you that previously the students were accepted, then you should also be able to go through. So that was all about the UCAS and the UCAS changes. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague now, talk about the personal statement.
Right. So I think Savi has covered a bit already on personal statements, which is to give you some more detail, because this is actually a deal breaking document. Because I've had so many students who will come and ask me, and from pretty much all of us, that we meet the minimum entry requirements, but what is that one thing that the university is looking at to accept or not accept the application, right? So personal statement something becomes really important. So UCAS has, like we've heard in the previous slide, UCAS gives you maximum of 5 options to apply, but only one personal statement spending across all 5 course choices. Now, this could be a plus or a minus depending on how you approach it. It's definitely a plus because it saves time and effort, and you don't have to individually draft personal statements for each of your options. But sometimes this could also be a little tricky because you have to factor in all 5 choices depending on what universities, what courses are you have taken. This is where we usually, like to share some advice based on our experiences that will be useful to you. So moving on, just to start with very, very basics about personal statements. It's roughly about 4,000 characters, not words, characters. So be mindful of that, which roughly comes to about 47 lines. It's very, very key for competitive set of courses, because if I talk about King's, for example, most of our courses don't have interviews except medicine set of courses, right? Now, how do you let the admission committee know that you are the right fit for the university? Because again, they don't know you for so many years like your school counselors or teachers do, right? So they don't have that halo effect for you. So how you tell them if you are the right fit for the course in that university is through that document, which is why it's very, very important. And the kind of applications that top universities receive, pretty much all of them will meet or exceed the minimum entry requirements, which is why additional documents like LOR and personal statements plays a very, very important role. Of course, keeping aside the courses that actually need aptitude test as well, which is very, very low in accent. So LOR is not in your control to a large extent because that's something that you get from your school. But what actually is something that is vital and in your control is the personal statement. Now, there are very detailed nuances on what should your personal statement reflect. But if I tell you very, very broadly of 3 words that can describe that is your motivation to study that particular course, your aptitude, what you've done so far inside and outside of classroom, anything additional, what has led to your interest to do that particular course, and what is your determination, which means that what is a testament of you doing so much that will reflect on that. So at till about this year, the UK personal statements, you aren't given a prompt like the US, but this is also in discussion with the UCAS to change in the following set of years. But at this point for this year, there is no prompt. So that's pretty much like a blank canvas that you have to paint with 4,000 characters, which of course is also a plus because it gives you so much space for how you want to mention your story as well. But also, like I said, it gets trickier if you are not very clear on structuring your personal statement. Now, it's called personal statement for a reason, which is why I've highlighted it here, because it has to be your personal story. I've seen pretty much all students, everybody getting so overwhelmed by Googling the most perfect personal statement, or they're trying to copy the personal statement that probably their school seniors have written, or their cousins have written, or their friends have written, etc. But trust me, there is no answer to what a perfect personal statement is, because there is no perfect personal statement, right? It has to be your personal story reflecting why you want to do that course, what you've done so far, what has led to your interest in doing that course, what additional any life stories that you have related to that course that you want to mention, why, for example, why it's law sparked a particular interest in you, and so many different things. So please make it personal to you. And trust me, the admission committees have so much experience reading personal statements. They read tons of personal statements in a week that they will in a second realize that, this is something that's not original. So, which also does not reflect a very high quality personal statement. So yeah, be aware of the different course choices that you have. This means that ideally we recommend that shouldn't be the case, but if you're choosing like out of 5 subjects, like probably 2 is geography, 1 is business, 2 is economics, etc., it gets very difficult to compile those skill sets into one personal statement. But if for any reason you are choosing different unrelated set of courses in your 5 options, and be mindful that the skills and qualities that you mention in your personal statement does factor all of them together. So moving on personal statements now. Right. So what your personal statement should actually do is that it should at least start with capturing the interest of the reader very quickly. So sometimes I've seen students, they will keep beating around the bush of mentioning different things, etc. Working on that flowery language and things like that. But what they're actually missing is that their personal statement does not, at least in the first 7, 8, 10 lines, does not even reflect the course interest they have in mind, which is again not a reflection of a very strong personal statement. So it should capture the reader's interest quickly in terms of telling why you want to do what you want to do, and then of course, validating your interest with what additional things you've done. Motivation, enthusiasm we've already covered, but some bits on how you can reflect that is probably if you've attended certain open days, taster lectures for that particular course of the university, virtual open days, virtual open weeks, etc. Or if you are doing any internships, any volunteering work, which is complementing that course. But what you have to be mindful is that with UK personal statements, it's more super curriculars than extracurriculars, which means anything that you're doing should tie back to the course, which means, for example, if you're applying for a eco course, and you are probably a national level swimmer, for example, if you can't tie back to your course, please don't put it, right? That's of course my advice, because that does not hold a lot of value and will just eat up your characters there. A good way to figure that out is I usually recommend students go to the course page on that particular university's website, go through the course modules and see the list of modules that's taught over 3 years. You get a fair sense of what is expected out of this particular student if they come to that particular university. Then you backward integrate your extracurriculars, right? Demonstrate skills, competencies already discussed. Something that's super important at UCAS is, or at an undergrad level, is you do not mention the specific university names, because like Savi mentioned, each university will, all the 5 options that you mentioned, all of those will be reading that one person's statements, right? And it could possibly be different universities, of course, right? In those 5 options. So some students get overconfident that they think it will fetch them brownie points if they've mentioned the university name, and but it's not a good idea, because you never know. You might be super confident of receiving an offer, but in reality, where so much competition exists and so many applications from different parts of the world, etc., you don't really know if you will get that offer or not. So we recommend at an undergrad level be specific to the course, but of course at the postgrad level, what is recommended is to be specific to the university. Right, so we move on from this slide now. Okay, so like I said, it's a blank canvas where you have to paint those 4,000 characters. So my suggestion on structuring, of course, this is not set in stone. This is just an example to help you. So start by 4 to 5. It should ideally have 4 to 5 paragraphs. There should be an introduction. There should be a conclusion. And in the middle, about 3 paragraphs also should be your motivation, why you want to do it, what sparked your interest. You probably attended something that sparked your interest, or researching through a particular project, or if you read a certain subject that sparked a certain interest for you to do this particular course. If you was, for example, studying law, if you witnessed a law case in the court, which has actually, surprised you, how important a lawyer's profession is and things like that. In COVID, so many people realize that how important medical profession is. Probably that sparked their interest in medicine. It could be anything, but it has to be genuine. It cannot be something since I was, in the womb of my mother, I've always wanted to study this. Or since I was in kindergarten, I've always wanted to do astrophysics and things like that, which of course doesn't make sense, right? So it should be genuine to you. Academic interest, what you've done so far, like I said, anything that relates back to your course, any internships, projects, part of any club societies, any books that you've read, any TED Talks you've done, anything of that sort. And yeah, and then there should be a nice conclusion. Now, a lot of students obsess about the most amazing introduction that will blow away the admission committee's mind, which is why they spent so many weeks actually building their perfect introduction. But 2 mistakes there. They actually forget about how important the conclusion is. So the conclusion should nicely tie back the whole story. Of course, you don't have to word to word repeat what you've written in the introduction, but just make sure that conclusion is given equal importance and it all tie back to a nice story. And my second suggestion would be start with the second, third, fourth paragraph first, because that's the content that you'd already have. If you start with the introduction, you probably waste a lot of time just building the most perfect introduction that exists. So first finish second, third, and fourth paragraph, and probably the conclusion. You will have some grip and some control over your personal statement, and then go back to conclusion, depending on how much time do you actually have left before the deadline. Okay, we can move ahead. Yeah, so just some examples of what you can avoid with opening lines. So, this I've already covered, but just putting it through. So as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to become a doctor. It could be possible if actually correct. You've probably seen somebody in your family who's a doctor since childhood, and this spark interest, but this is not the most ideal way to start a personal statement for competitive set of universities. Like you have to stand up, right? So I'm currently studying eco, which is why I wanted to study eco further. This is not something exciting to read from an admission committee's mind, keeping in mind how great the other personal statements could be. Right? So these are some lines you can possibly avoid. So yeah, moving on. Okay, so just to sum it up of what I've said so far, don't just tick boxes, right? Don't just tick boxes. Okay, if I'm applying for an eco course, okay, I've read 2 books, I've watched 2 TED Talks, I've done 2 internships, I've done 2 online courses. Don't just maintain that as a checklist or a tick box. Explain what you've gained from your experience. So don't mention in bullet points what you've done. We don't really want to know how great you are by just or what additional things you've done. We actually want to know how that's added that to your skill set of you become a stronger applicant. So explain what you've gained from your internship. Explain what you've done, what you've gained if you read that particular book on economics, etc. Evidence with details. If you say you are great in quantitative abilities, explain with evidence of what you've done that proves that, right? If you've done a certain project, if you've done a certain research, that evidence is that. So be mindful of that and eliminate sentences that don't add value. Like I said, if you might be an international level chess player, but if you're applying for a physics course and if it doesn't add up, don't put it, because you possibly want to use those 4,000 characters to your advantage, only highlighting the things that will add value to your application. Right. So we can move on from here. Right. So very, very quickly, I've covered these points already, most of them in my conversation so far, but I'll just sum it up again. UK personal statements are pretty academic in nature, which means about 80 to 90% should focus on academic, which is why I said super curriculars are more important than extracurriculars. Highlight your key skills and competencies that are relevant to the course. Anything you've done professionally outside the course that is relevant. Work experience, internships, taste a day, public lectures, student exchange, something if you've done any summer school. That also, it's great to mention that because that does reflect your motivation and interest to do that particular course. Yes, we can move ahead. Okay, what not to include? Okay, the list is very long. We're just putting it some things here. Lying, exaggeration, please don't do that. Like I said, I've always wanted to study this since I was in kindergarten. Plagiarism is a big offense in the UK, and somehow we as Indians are very comfortable plagiarizing our assignments and courses and things like that, etc. Unfortunately, maybe this could possibly lead to the education systems we're exposed at. So please don't plagiarize. UCAS has very, very, very strong plagiarism detection softwares, and every year I see students getting warning emails from UCAS. Of course, it's great to take inspiration from somebody's personal statement or information available on the internet, but don't exactly copy it. If you're applying for a UK university, please use UK set of spellings. Informal language, punctuation, just be mindful of that. Again, as Indian students have seen, we are getting very obsessed with using thesaurus, unnecessarily beautifying our personal statements. So content is more important rather than beautification. Of course, if you're applying for English literature, language set of courses, that is important. Irrelevant course, please avoid. A lot of students tend to do that. Education is the best weapon to change the world and things like that. You can use quotes that are relevant to probably if you want to cite an economist course in your personal statement that's found your interest, that is a different story, but avoid using cliches and with quotes, etc. Bullet points, avoid using that. Don't just mention, like I said, like a shopping list of what all you've done. We don't want to do that. What we want to know is how that's added value. Yeah, we can move ahead. Just summing it up again, start early, very, very important. You'll only be able to understand your, how your person is going, what needs help, what is fine, redrafting, rediscussing only if you start on time, only if you start in about January in the deadline month. The quality of your personal statement, trust me, will reflect of how much effort it's gone to. Watch YouTube videos on personal statements, take inspiration that is great, but don't copy it. Speak to current students, connect with them on LinkedIn or Unibuddy, and trust me, they will definitely tell you some things that you might not know about joining a particular course on that, or what helped them, if any book that they read, any particular trick that they use that helped them get through. So yeah, I think that is that from me. I will kind of give it to my colleague Akshi now. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Palak. So I am aware of the time, so I'll try to make it quick, but some important factors about the fees, the living expenses, the scholarships, etc. So as you can see that some of the courses, as my colleagues also discussed in UCAS, will have an application fee. So UCAS application fee can be around £27 for more than one option. But if you're going for a PG course, for example, a postgraduate course, some of the universities may have an application fee ranging from £50 to £100. Now, most of these application fees will be mentioned on the course website, so you don't have to worry about it. You will know which courses will have the particular application fee. The tuition fee ranges from around £8,000 to £10,000 per annum and can go up to £37,500 or £38,000 per annum, depending on the course that you are trying to apply. Usually, humanities courses are slightly cheaper, whereas lab-based courses like science or a business school course would be slightly on the higher end of the tuition fee. But again, each university has their tuition fee set up on their international student page. You can double check with that. The general living expense per month can range from 800 to around £1,500, £1,700 for London as well. London is slightly more expensive, especially if you're living in central London. But if you're going up north of the country, like Manchester, Durham, Newcastle, etc., there the living expense will be slightly cheaper. So it will also depend upon your own lifestyle. So there have been students who are able to live in a budgeted lifestyle. You know, if you cook your own food, you buy your stuff, and you're not eating out or partying out every other night, then you can save money. But if you are outgoing type of person, then you might be spending a bit more per month for your social activities. Visa fee is set up at £490 for a student visa, but there are some extra charges. So if you're, for example, taking a priority service or a super priority service in your VFS in India in any of the cities, you will have to pay slightly extra, but this is a general visa fee. The IHS, which is the International Health Surcharge. So my colleague Harkirat mentioned in his slide that you can access NHS, which is the National Health Services, while you are in the UK. For that, you have to pay a little amount while you're applying so that your health services are covered while you're in the UK for the duration of your course. So the IHS charges this year were set up at £470 per year. It will depend upon how many years your course is for. Plus, you get the 2 years post-study work visa extension currently after you finish your degree. So when you do apply for that extension, you will have to pay the 2-year IHS fee as well at that time. Next slide, please. A little bit about scholarships and funding. So as you know, that the tuition fee can range from 8,000 to anything up to 35,000 pounds as well. Each university has certain set of scholarships as well for excellent meritorious students. Some universities may be able to provide scholarships based on your financial background as well. So there are different types of scholarships available. One is the university-specific scholarship. Partial and some limited full scholarships may be available at each of the universities for specific courses or specific faculty. So the best way to find that is the university's website. If you just Google the Indian Student Scholarship or International Student Scholarship along with the university name, for example, University of Manchester India Scholarship or University of Durham India Scholarships, etc., you will find the first link to the official university website with a list of all the scholarships available for that particular university. These can range from 10%, 20% fee discount to up to 100% of your first year tuition fee as well. Most of the university-specific scholarships only cover the tuition fee part of it. So if you're looking for scholarships for your whole tuition fee as well as living expense, you may want to look into third-party fundings or government scholarships. So there are scholarships by British Council. So British Council of India, along with the Government of India, have some scholarships. For example, Evening Scholarship, Great Scholarship, and Commonwealth Scholarship for Indian students. So these particular scholarships, though, are subject specific. So not all university will have all of these scholarships available for all of their courses. So for example, at Manchester, we have Women in STEM scholarship for specific 5 STEM courses only for women. Then we have some great scholarships in collaboration with British Council, and they are only for a couple of humanities courses. So again, each university has certain set of courses that they collaborate with British Council for these scholarships. So definitely check the British Council website for the process of it, because all the processing of this scholarship will be done by British Council. So they have their own application form, they have their own scholarship interviews, etc., for shortlisting of the final candidates of the students. Then comes Indian state government scholarships. Certain state governments, for example, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and a couple more, have their own scholarships where they fund a student's study fully. That will include your tuition fee as well as living expense for them to study abroad. And abroad can be a destination within UK or some other destination as well. Of course, they are limited and more competitive, but these are your chances of grabbing a scholarship for your full funding. So including your tuition fee and living expense. There are other NGOs who offer support for students who may come from an economically weaker section. So there have been NGOs within India as well as UK who have collaborated with universities for partially funding the students' education. So Tata Trust, Rotary Foundation, Charles Wallace India Trust scholarships. These are some of the scholarships that are specifically for students who might be looking at courses which are very niche. So it could be development studies, it could be public policy, etc., which they would be able to then support financially the students for. Next slide, please. A little bit about emerging careers. So of course, we know a lot about the business programs, a lot about the engineering programs, the law, etc. But of course, if you're looking for a long-term career, and you're still unsure about it and you're not wanting to go into the traditional engineering or the traditional business courses, there is a lot of courses and combinations available for you to explore. And as you would have seen in the last few years, a lot of different types of careers are emerging. Psychology has become very popular, courses to become a therapist, courses to become a psychologist, or even just doing some research within psychology. It is gaining momentum, and it is something that the future careers will probably boom in. Even in corporates, we are now looking at people who would be studying and would be masters in psychology. So another one of them is the electrical and electronic engineering. Of course, the computer science engineering has been one of the most popular courses, followed by mechanical engineering. But did you know that as we go into the renewable sources of energy, the electronic vehicles, etc., the electrical and electronic engineers are the ones who actually design those type of automobiles, etc. The type of how much energy is used, how much electricity is being used, and how we can go from fossil fuels to the electric mode of using vehicles, etc. For that, you don't need a computer science engineer. You need an electrical or electronic engineer. So these are the type of niche. There is also chemical engineering that you can probably look into. So the idea here is to let you guys know that you don't have to follow just one set path, maybe that somebody told you about, or that's something that somebody has done before. If you are interested in a global type of career, it is very important for you to look into a lot of other options. And thankfully, all of the UK universities offer a variety of combination of courses for you to see what your interest is like. And if you go and study something that you're interested in, you will definitely gain the skill and the confidence to work and be a master in that particular career field. So that would obviously give you great job opportunities. Another one is healthcare management. So students who might be interested maybe in medicine or maybe physiotherapy, etc. Instead of like just going to the traditional resources, or maybe you did not get into the medicine course, but you still want to get into the healthcare sector. Healthcare management, pharmaceutical sciences, pharmacology. These are the courses you can look into, which have really gained momentum, especially since the COVID pandemic hit the world. A lot of, the companies and the pharmaceutical companies have been wanting researchers within that field, and having a degree in these particular, courses really makes you that person who's skilled in that profession. So as you can see, I've put in a picture of the skilled worker visa and the eligible occupations. So you must know that the UK government has a visa policy of skilled worker visa. So after the 2 years of post-study work visa, if you want to go into the work visa form of things and you want to look for a job, you need to have an occupation that is eligible as a skilled worker. So gov.uk is the official website of Government of UK, where you can find the whole list of all the occupations that are eligible for skilled workers. And that will give you an opportunity to look at the various different roles that are considered skilled workers. And obviously, there are more than just the traditional roles of a lawyer, of a doctor, or an engineer. So you might find something interesting in terms of roles that can then help you probably finding the right course and finalizing the right course for you, which would be away from your traditional courses. Next slide, please. So once you have joined a university, of course, once you start studying, the next thing is thinking about your career, thinking about the career services and the support that universities offer. All of the UK universities offer a career center on campus for you to have an idea and a one-on-one session with one of the career counselors to understand, first of all, how the job market in the UK works, and then also understand how your profile can be made stronger to find the right role for you. So obviously, job seeking, even a CV in the UK is different from what we have in India. So it is important for you to first understand the whole market on how to apply, what to do with your CV, and how to make it, eligible for the UK standards. All of the universities offer that. I have put in, snapshots of a couple of universities from the UK and their careers pages. Each of our university has a career center and employability service. Of course, it is on campus. You can go there one-on-one, but if you just want to explore a little bit, each university will have a website with the details of how to contact them as well. So what do? They give out one-on-one career counseling support for you to start with. They organize a lot of job fairs and networking sessions on campus. So in the UK, you may not have a campus placement like the ones in India where 100 students sit, write an exam, and that is a campus placement. In the UK, it is more about networking. It's about one-on-one conversations. It's about showing your skills to the potential recruiters and understanding what they are looking for in their role, so that if there is anything missing in your profile, you can then work on it. So Career Services and Support Center is where you'll get all of those opportunities to meet with those recruiters. There are skill enhancement workshops and seminars. So apart from whatever you are studying in your classroom, we all at our universities definitely encourage you to join these enhancement workshops and seminars, which are the skills that you might not be, studying in your classroom, but you have that opportunity to learn through these seminars. A lot of the courses at UG level have a placement year option as well. What that means is that you do a 1-year placement or an internship with the company. It's a full year placement, you get paid for it, and you get hands-on experience of the industry. A lot of times, what we study it at the university and what we are actually wanting to do as a practical work could be a bit different. So having that placement year within your UG helps you understand what your role would be like after this degree. And in case you want to change your mind, you have that opportunity of understanding how an office works and what other different opportunities are there within a company apart from what you're already doing. So we encourage students to try and go for a placement year if possible, because apart from your classroom learning, having hands-on support and learning from the industry professionals is also very useful and makes you more employable later on after you graduate. Next slide, please. So once you have, decided on which universities you want to apply for, you've worked on your SOP, etc., it is very interesting to speak with current students and alumni. So as my colleague Palak mentioned about UniBuddy, most of the universities have this type of UniBuddy page where you can chat with the current students of different subjects. You can chat about what their experience has been like as an international student, or how the subject is like, how the teaching methodology is like. So very good opportunity for you to have a chat with them. You can connect with the alumni via LinkedIn. So LinkedIn as a tool is very useful, and most of the alumni are quite active there and very happy to help other prospective students, especially if you're looking to apply to their university. You can get the exact experience of being an Indian student and going there. So you can definitely connect with them. Another opportunities are meeting people in person. So every university throughout the year has in-country events where we are there from the university. The people from our particular university, for example, my university, Manchester, they fly down to India for certain events to meet with prospective students. And we also have alumni who are based in India working now to come meet with the students who might be looking into applying to Manchester, for example, next year. So what happens is that you get one-on-one opportunity to understand with them in person. So these events are organized by the university itself, and it is throughout the year. So keep an eye out on your whichever university you want to apply, that which event is happening. All the major metropolitan cities are covered with it. Sometimes tier 2 cities are also covered with it. You should also follow university's social media accounts. So that way you are able to have access to live sessions with the staff and the students and people on campus. So most of the university's social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram are quite active, and they're trying to engage with the prospective students to show them the campus life. Next slide, please. So this is all from my end. I think if there are any questions, so please feel free to put them in the chat box. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akshi. I think we have a couple of questions, but I think we've extended the session. But thank you so much. A lot of you are still listening to us. You've been a great audience today. We just wanted to pack as much information as possible for you all. So apologies for extending the session, but I hope this was useful. So I will open the chat box now, and so some generic questions, and I'll invite everybody from the panel today, whoever can add value wherever they think it's probably their area of interest. So what is the minimum IP score? I think for course-specific questions and university-specific questions about the courses, honestly, the website is the best place to check that information out, because like Harkirat has mentioned correctly, it will be different for different universities. But we've tried to put that one slide together, which Parul presented for broad entry requirements together, but it will be specific to different universities, keeping in mind the overall IB requirements and also the subject-specific requirements for that particular course, right? So for summer programs, I think this has been answered. Yeah, so a lot of us who are here will have specific summer programs, winter programs, pre-university, summer school, all of that information, which again will be different for different universities in terms of what we offer, the fee for it, the duration for it, etc. And all of us offer some great summer exchange programs. So please check the website out for that specific set of details. We will also, our email addresses are on the screen here. If it's, it's pretty legible, but if not, we'll also put it in the chat box. So because of the time constraint today, if you're not able to answer any questions that you have, or you still need further details, please feel free to write us at our individual email addresses, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Okay, so any university. I will skip the questions that have already been answered by my colleagues. Okay, ideal referee also, that's covered. Yeah, I don't think any of us differentiate between referees, but it's, whoever you think can best justify your, you as a person and knows you well enough that, but it has to be academic, right? So that is there. Are there any film courses? Anybody from the panel today who has film courses and wants to just brief them can just come on camera.
Sure. So we do have a lot of courses in communication and media studies, which includes film courses as well, cinematography, theater and performance. So basically anything and everything you want to do in that area, we have those courses, and we're amongst the top ranked as well as per QS. So you can definitely explore our website. It's called gold.ac.uk. And yeah, so we do have those options. And multiple other universities will have similar options as well.
Great, thanks, Harkirat. Anybody else who wants to come and speak about the film course?
Okay. Hi, we have a film. So sorry.
As well. Sorry,
Yeah,
Parul. Please go on.
No worries. Yeah, I was saying we have film and TV, both at UG and PG, so you can check that out. Thanks.
Great. We have a film studies course as well as a creative writing and film studies course. So if anybody is looking into research type of courses, we have some courses offered.
Thank you so much. For psychology, again, it's going to be different. All of us are though representing UK, but psychology requirements could be different for different universities in terms of both the overall entry requirements and also the subject specific entry requirements. So please check the website out. And yeah, so can one apply to only one course to one college, or multiple courses can be applied to? You can apply to multiple courses like Harkirat has mentioned, but what we usually recommend, and one of my colleagues had rightly mentioned, you have to spread your choices smartly, that it covers not just all aspirational courses, but you also have some courses that are safety net. So if you think, so some students are really obsessed with the university and not the course, and they really want to get into that university irrespective if they get into the desired course or not. In that case, if you're really inclined for a particular university for some reasons, then of course you can apply to 2 different courses for that particular university. But I mean, at least in my opinion, don't get too carried away by using more than 2 options from out of your 5 options for that particular UCAS application, right? Okay.
Can I take up the question on psychology, Palak? Like a couple
yes,
of
please.
students are
Please
asking.
go ahead.
Perfect. So psychology, usually the entry requirements, like if you're looking for bachelor's courses, vary depending on the university. But maths is mostly like above 10, is not a mandate requirement. Some universities might have that, so refer to individual websites as well. And in terms of like starting out with psychology, I would advise like it might be more useful to start with the bachelor's in the UK because it is a protected area. So in case even if you're studying psychology at the bachelor's level and if you're going for a master's, you would mostly have to take a conversion route because you'll not otherwise have a BPS level accreditation one, even if your university offers BPS accreditation at the master's level. Sorry, I'll give a glimpse into the BPS term also. So it is an accreditation that you need in order to become a psychologist in the UK. So different levels of courses will have different accreditations associated with them. So yeah, as I mentioned, like it might be better off if you're planning a career in psychology, either starting off at the undergrad level or then choosing a conversion route and then going for a specialized master's, because that will help you in your journey to become a psychologist in the UK. Perfect.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to speak about psychology? Okay. Yeah, because psychology, see, there is a question on maths and psychology and physics. What do we need? So, for example, Kings gives you an option between two or three different courses. You can have a score in that. So, that's how it will be different for different set of universities. As much as we've tried to put standardized information across today, but we will differ in some bits, of course, which is why the university website is pretty much the best place. All of these are designed in a student-friendly way to give you so much access to information, and you can always reach out to us individually as well on our personal email address. Booking does not have architecture. So yeah. Any other question that you think is needed? You can please put in across here, but I'm just also being mindful that we've exceeded the session a lot, but I think that was useful because we have so many of you still here with us today, and I understand it's a Saturday and all of us are waiting for our weekend to start. But I'll wait for another minute or so for questions. If you don't have the questions, then we will end the session for today.
So, Palak, there are a couple of questions around foundation courses and people with lower entry
Okay.
requirements also. So I'll give a glimpse into that also.
Hmm.
So a lot of our universities will have like separate foundation offerings, and they will have an additional year in addition to the 3 years of undergrad. So it will become year zero, and you can definitely take those options and have these integrated programs. Other options with some universities, for example, Goldsmiths has international foundation certificates also. So that is a year before your bachelor's, which like helps you to gain entry into a university. Our foundation certificates, international foundation certificates, will allow entry into any university. So if you feel you've not performed in 12th, you want to improve your scores, if you want to study at Goldsmiths, or if you want to gain admissions to any of the other universities you see on the panel, or any other universities overall also, you can definitely take up these options as well. And someone's asked like if it is available in the January intake. So mostly like these niche courses would not be available in the January intake. January intakes are the smaller intakes for most universities. So they'll have slightly limited options, but again, on each university website, you'll find that information. Perfect.
Yeah. We have, I think the last question that we'll take is on extras and clearing. Savi, would you want to take this since you presented on UCAS? Or anybody
Definitely.
else who wants to cover it? Yeah, so this is the last question that we'll take in for today. Just being very, very mindful of the time, as much as we want to answer many more questions, but just understanding that it was, we've exceeded way. So Savi, last question.
Perfect. So talking about the UCAS Extra, so like I'd mentioned, because you only have the option to apply to 5 universities in one go, and if for any XYZ reasons you do not get accepted to any of those 5 universities, then you do have an option to apply through UCAS Extra to another one university with a comparatively lower entry requirement that you think where you could get an offer from. So that's your UCAS Extra choice. In terms of clearing, what it would ideally mean is that university that you were aiming for, but because their entry requirements are much higher and you didn't apply to them then, but now you think that, once you've got your final scores and that, they might have still spots left and you can make it now, that is when you apply, through UCAS for UCAS clearing. So again, all of this, you can refer back to your UCAS application system. You'll find all the information available there. And you will also, like I'd mentioned, there are different timelines on which you can apply for UCAS Extra and UCAS clearing. So again, keep referring back to your UCAS track and you will have an updated information with respect to these deadlines and which universities are going into clearing, which universities have which courses open during clearing. So sometimes what would also happen is that a university might go into clearing, but if you were looking to apply for a specific subject, they may have not gone into clearing for that particular subject because the seats might already be filled out. So again, that is all something that you should be able to refer back to the UCAS website for. Anybody else wants to pitch into that?
I think you've explained it very, very well. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking out time on a Saturday morning. I know we all have enough busyness going around the week, but thank you so much for that. And I hope this was useful. Sorry if you've missed any questions for today, but we've shared our email IDs. Please feel free to write it to us individually for any of your questions. And yeah, thank you so much for the session today. We will end this here. And yeah, thank you so much for being such a great audience today.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone,
all.
for joining in.
Thank you. Thank you.